This video will demonstrate how to use the Emporium workbook while stating instructions on why, how, and whether to take a pretest, along with other important course information. We're going to start on page 8 of the workbook for this demonstration. Here you will find the first specific instructions for completing a set of work to be handed in this course. The flow chart on these pages directs you to the work that's required to be completed for the first 2 chapters. This is a 100 book workbook. So it starts with chapters 2 and 3. The 100P looks very much the same, except it starts with chapters 1 and 2. Some students may have mastered the material in these chapters in past courses. If this is the case for you, we would like you to demonstrate mastery using the pretest listed here on the left. If you complete the pretest exam with a grade of 80% or better, you may move to the next chapter without needing to complete the work in the workbook or any homework assignments for that chapter. It's highly recommended that you review the pages listed on the flowchart and practice some of the exercises here in the chapter tests listed on these pages in the ebook before taking the pretest. If you believe you have mastery of the material after that study, at a rate of 80% or better, contact your professor and arrange to complete the pretest. This exam is password protected and must be proctored in the Emporium. If you're successful on the pretest, that pretest exam grade, as it says down here, will be counted as the chapter 2 and 3 exam grade. And you can move on to the next chapter's material. If you do not complete the pretest, as it says here on the right, or score less than an 80% on the pretest, you will follow this flowchart to complete the workbook and homework assignments for the particular chapter. Every chapter, or sometimes 2 chapters, begins with a similar flowchart of steps for completing the work for the sections of the workbook that follows it. And this is what the beginning of the workbook looks like. It guides you through the learning process by first instructing you to open the e-textbook, as it says here. You can read the chapter opener. We're going to move to objective, solving linear equations that can be simplified by combining like terms. Read from objective 2 with that same title at the bottom of page 50 through examples 3 and 4, and next to objective 2 you can click on this play icon and take notes below. So that's what you do with the workbook, is take notes like you're watching a lecture in a regular class and taking notes from the professor. This will be handed in and graded. So let's go and do that. We'll move to the e-textbook. Here's the course home page. On the left are all these buttons. That's where you find links to the homework and exams. We're going to go to e-textbook. Notice that there's a triangle on the left here. Push that triangle and it expands to the chapters. We're going to go to chapter 2. And we were looking at section 2.4, that is. So we're going to open that and hit multimedia e-text. Now this takes a while to load. Be patient. I'll speed up the video so we won't be waiting for it. And so once it opens, we're going to go to, let's see, let's look back at the workbook, and what did it say? Objective 2, on the bottom of page 50. Oh, we're going to 2.1. That's right. The first section of homework is in chapter 2, section 4. But there's a review of all the previous stuff just to make sure that you get exposed to it. So we'll go to page 50. That's easy to do by going to this box here and typing in the page number 50, pressing enter. And at the bottom here, we'll scroll down and we see this play button next to objective 2. We play that. And a video comes up. We push the play button.
Let's suppose I have the equation, let's say -2 times 5. Let's use the variable y. Minus 1 minus y is equal to -4.
So here the author is explaining an example, like any professor would on the board, about this objective. You would watch this and take notes in the workbook. Then, let's go back to the workbook and see what it says to do next. On page 51, left of example 4, there's this icon. That's the practice example icon. So if we go back to the e-text and go to page 51, we can go to the next page by just pushing this arrow here. And next to example 4, we find this icon. Click on it. And we'll get something very similar to what the homework problems look like. It's almost exactly the same. But it asks you to solve this equation. You'd solve it, find the answer, if there was one, or say this has many answers, or no solution at all. Pick one of those, click on that, type the answer in this, and you can check it. Let's see, what's the answer to this one? Looks like x equals 4. Let's see if that's right. I'm guessing by checking it in my head. And it says excellent. Means I got it right. Make sure you write the work for it in the workbook though. So you have an example of how you worked it when you do the homework. You will then be guided to complete the homework for the section. That's at the end of all of this work. For instance, here at the end of page 22, it says, you can check out the video if you're not done so to date on completing the homework, and return to the main course page, which would be over here. And instead of e-textbook, which we're going to close, you can click on do homework and do homework there. There's a whole separate video on showing you how to do that. And you get this push continue, and you'll see a list of homework there. Okay. Once the chapter work is finished, that is, you've done the workbook, then done the homework, and the workbook and the homework all the way through that flowchart we first looked at. At the bottom of the flowchart, you'll see it asks you to take a self-assessment. At least one of them is required, so we would click on this. Notice right now you can't go there because they're prerequisites of all the homeworks before you do that. But we would click on this, treat it like a test. That is, don't get help from a tutor, don't look at your notes, and don't get help in the Emporium from a professor or a TA. You need to take it on your own to see how well you can do on the actual exam. It's meant to let you know really how well you are prepared. After you take the self-assessment, there's a homework created, or this homework is changed so that the ones you got correct are not links anymore. You don't have to redo those, but you can have all the items that you did incorrectly, or ones that are similar to the ones you did incorrectly, will be highlighted so that you can go back to those and practice some more. You can do this process 3 times if you like, but you're required to do it once. Do a self-assessment once. Once you've taken an exam for the chapter, then the entire process is repeated for the next 1 or 2 chapters. And as you see, there's exams and self-assessments for all of those chapters. And at the end, there's a final exam that covers the material studied over the entire course.